Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello. 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 Hello, everybody. How's it going? Apologies for the late start. Ended up catching up on some sleep, but overslept. So here I am, a little bit late. And only doing 2 Pomodoros today. Hopefully that's still sufficient for anybody who's interested in actually tuning in and following along. So yeah, hopefully me deviating from my normal schedule doesn't significantly impact the channel in any way, but impact's probably going to be pretty marginal. Anyways, welcome to the study streams. Just a quick run through of how the logistics of this work. The way this works is I go through 50-minute work sessions with 10-minute breaks, and during those 10-minute breaks, I go through some healthy habits for resting the eyes and making sure you get up and stay a little bit active while you're working. So yeah, that's the general gist of how this works. Yep. So, basic advice before we start that I always give is first to state what you want to get done in some clear written form and possibly publicly announced. That can mean if you're tuning in live, writing in stream chat, although no one's tuned in live right now, which is understandable given my late start. Or it could mean if you're at home and you're watching this after the live stream is over, that could just mean taking a post-it note, writing what you want to get done on said post-it note, and then posting it in the top right corner of your screen. This will basically allow you to be specific about what you want to get done, which makes it a lot easier to get what you want to get done, and it also allows for some semblance of public accountability because people can see what you wrote on the post-it note and see what's on your screen. So if there's someone walking by whose opinion you may care about, that can motivate you to actually stay focused. Now, obviously, this works a lot better in, say, like a school library environment versus like at home or in a dorm room where you may even be alone. So, the public accountability aspect is a bit limited, but the specificity is still useful. If you want more accountability, there's always this community, which, I'm always around Sunday through Thursday, trying to help people stay on task with what they're doing. So maybe that has some benefit or impact to someone. Forgot to set some things up, actually. Let me really quickly open the right apps I need for this. That actually brings me to my second thing, which is to set up your environment before you start working, which I clearly did not do in my case, so I'm a hypocrite. But what I essentially mean is that you should close irrelevant programs and tabs and open and preemptively set up relevant programs and tabs to what you're doing. This will basically allow you to work immediately as soon as the timer goes off, and that is super beneficial because then you can start getting into your flow state with your work as quickly as possible. At the same time, you can also change things about your physical environment. So say like relocating to a more quiet area and wherever you're working from, maybe preemptively telling people that you're going to be working for the next 2 hours. Stuff like that can really go a long way in terms of helping make sure that you can stay focused during the actual work session and that distractions have a lot of friction added to them so that it's much, much harder to actually pursue distractions when they present themselves. So, yeah, I mean, that's the basic gist of how this is going to work. Hopefully you can take some of that advice. Hopefully you're changing things about your environment. I guess for myself, I should do the first part myself, which is announcing specifically what I'm going to do for the next 2 hours publicly. And so that's going to be a lot of replanning tasks. So part of it is just general replanning for the break, just figuring out priorities of what I'm doing and when. So that's a lot of calendar editing. That's using my journal system and reviewing, doing sort of like a post-mortem of how the semester went, and maybe trying to set some takeaways that I can sort of apply to whatever my next semester is like, as well as fixing things up in the calendar, making sure I know what I'm doing when, things like that. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of that, as well as content planning for this, for my YouTube stuff. So as you might have been noticing, I keep delaying the creation of my first video, and that's because of schoolwork and whatnot. But now that the schoolwork is done, I can sort of slate myself to make a bunch of new videos, given now that I have sufficient time to actually pursue them. At the same time, I'm also trying to figure out how to set up a blog that I'm okay with, because that stuff also seems like a content avenue that I want to try out. So like short form written content, maybe I can cross post on Medium, and I can embed some of my YouTube stuff, YouTube videos that I come up with. So hopefully that that can reach a lot of people, and hopefully there's some interplay between the content I make and the study streams I do, such that both communities sort of meld together, and we get people who tune in to study, we get people who tune in for content, and we get people who tune in for both. So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna spend an hour figuring out my general plan over the next 6 weeks before the next semester. What I'm doing on that front. Anyways, that I think covers what I'm going to do. Hopefully you've explicitly stated what you're going to do in writing or something, and hopefully you've edited your environment such that it's nice and conducive to doing whatever it is that you want to do. So, with that out of the way, yeah, I think we're in a good position to start. So, oh, hello guys. How is it going? Sorry I didn't see your chats, Danielle and Gunami. You're working on CS and Econ. You're doing notes and practice questions. Awesome. That's good to hear. Sorry if I was just rambling on without noticing you guys were here. And also sorry for the late start time. I forgot to announce that I was running late. And so here we are. All right, I'm gonna test some sound really quick and make sure everything is all set up. Hold on a moment. Let me just make sure things are all good on my end. Let me just make sure this bell sound rings as well. It does not. That is a problem. How do I resolve this? This always happens when I open things in the wrong order. So audio codec. So that's fine. This needs to be routed here. Or I could try routing this here, see if that helps. It does not. Once again, apologies for the late start. I definitely should have started a bit earlier. Sound is going on that. I could try switching to this. Again, apologies. Oh, did that work? I think that bell sound sounded. Hopefully you guys heard that one. Let me also just check that. Okay. Alright, yeah, no, I think the sound is okay. Yeah, so I think we should be in a good state. How am I doing, Daniel? I'm doing okay. My final exams were yesterday, so that's also why I'm not as on the ball with today's stream as I normally am. I definitely overslept just because it was like the first time in a while that I could just like really relax. Yeah, no, seriously. Um, a lot of stress off my shoulders for sure. And it gives me room to do stuff with this channel maybe. Anyways, I've done enough talking. It's late for you guys, so I want to make sure we get to work to make sure you guys have the focus time that you guys need. So, why don't we get started with our first session, and we'll get through it, and we'll take a break and then chill. So, let's see. My timer's all good. The sound's all good. I think we're ready to start our first session. So, I'm gonna start the timer, turn off the overlays and stuff, and turn on the music, and we're gonna get started with our first session. Good luck to everyone. Hopefully that those notes and review, and hopefully that CS and econ stuff both go really well. So good luck, everybody. I'll see you on the other side of this next session. Okay, that is our first session done. Now I think we can do a quick eye rest and take a brief break. So I'll set up the 1-minute timer so that we can start our eye rest break. If you want to join in, please find an object that's 6 to 7 meters away or farther that you can safely look at. We're going to stare at it to rest our eyes. But if you want to keep going, perhaps it's late and you want to just keep working, it's fine to just like temporarily mute the stream and keep on working if you think that will be better for you. But for those who want to follow the eye rest habit, please find an object, again, that's 6 to 7 meters away or farther and that is safe to look at. In my case, still looking at the same building across the street. All right, hopefully you found an object to look at if you've decided to follow along with this eye rest habit. If you did find an object and you want to follow along, please start looking at your object. I'm going to start the timer now. All right, timer started. Start looking at your object. I'll go over the same tips I always do, which is to keep your eyes relaxed despite staring at a faraway object. Don't strain them trying to focus the object in your vision, but just concentrate on the object attention-wise. Be sure to blink as well. Staring at screens for too long will dry out your eyes, reduce blink frequency, and that can damage your eyes as well. All right, keep looking. We'll keep going until the bell goes off. Focus that attention. Be sure to blink. There we go. All right. Cool. That is the first eye rest of the night done. Let's give ourselves 8 minutes more of break. Again, if you feel like it's a bit late and you want to just keep working through stuff, you're welcome to do that. Break timer is active for those of you who do want to take a break, though. You're definitely entitled to that after that first session. So go ahead and rest if you want to. In terms of how my first session went, I'm definitely spending my time exploring how to optimize my Notion. Oh, yeah, it definitely did go quick, for sure. Yeah, in terms of how my first session went, just as a quick update, for the sake of accountability, a lot of my replanning is going a lot longer than normal because I'm really overhauling my system and sort of experimenting with how to use Notion to sort of unify all the different projects I have going on into sort of like one database that like streamlines me coordinating all the projects a lot easier. So yeah, I keep underestimating how long just planning out this break. Excuse me. I keep underestimating how long planning out this break will take, just because yeah, I'm completely overhauling my system in Notion, and really trying to take advantage of all the yeah, all the features. Yeah, you're definitely right, Daniel. Lot of linked databases going on here that I'm trying to hook in together. But yeah, I really think there's going to be some serious upside to just linking everything into one database for like planning purposes. I actually can't wait. It seems pretty awesome what you can do with it. So yeah, looking forward to that as I keep working on that through these sessions. Hopefully the CS and econ stuff is going well, and hopefully the notes and practice questions are going well on both of your fronts. That's good. You finished your econ. Awesome. So now it's just CS stuff, I'm guessing. That's good to hear. Good to hear it was pretty good. Okay. How much time do we have left? 5:30. Yeah, it definitely is late in the UK. Sorry again for starting the stream late. If either you or Guna may want to leave early, definitely don't be afraid to. Sleep is important. What is your question? What do I think the world's biggest problem is today and why? Um, yeah, that's a good question. Not an easy question to answer. I mean, there's a lot of bad problems today, like a lot of them. I suppose like most problems I think that humanity faces usually is solved through really, really good coordination. Which is I think what makes humans different, differentiates humans significantly from other animals. Like other animals can be pretty competitive. They have the biological tools to be really, really competitive with one another. But in terms of cooperation, like, besides some other primates, humans are pretty unique in that front. So I think usually most problems can be solved with a large amount of human cooperation. So I think like, a lack of cooperation can sometimes be pointed to as an issue that compounds other issues. And I think that's probably an issue today. The world's very polarized right now. A lot of sort of like the wealth that's been created from like things like globalization and some of the technological revolutions we've had, just because of like agglomeration economics, basically like how very, very small clusters can actually be really, really efficient by clustering a lot of resources. Because of that, a lot of the gains of all these technological revolutions and, all this wealth created by global trade and whatnot, it seems to be really, really concentrated. And I think that's really, really bad for total human cooperation because it really, really segregates people a lot. And that causes polarization. And then that reduces sort of the unity and cooperation that, would be necessary to solve a lot of other problems, say like climate change, so like dealing with pandemics, stuff like that, solving different crises and whatnot. By class. So like, like if you look at like the U.S., for example, this is particularly acute in the U.S. Like the wage premium you get from earning a college degree is like super, super high just because like the jobs that have been created from technological advances and from globalization, they're very, very biased, at least in developed countries, towards high skill labor. So high skill labor seems to have like a lot of money behind it, but sort of at the detriment to low skill labor in terms of relative wages. So like tech workers like make like an exorbitant amount of money compared to say like a low skilled person working in like a more rural area. And so like yeah, for sure. I'm just saying like countries in the developed world have been particularly, this is mostly the US but also other countries, redistribution is not an easy thing to pull off. And it's sort of, for I think a lot of economists it was sort of an afterthought for a lot of economists that they didn't really explore very well before advocating for, free trade and globalization. So, like, it is true that there is more demand for high skilled labor, but it doesn't have to be the case that has to come at the cost of, the well-being of low skilled labor. I think the fact that like redistribution has been pretty poor, especially in the U.S., causes a lot of polarization and like a reduction of cooperation within a country and between countries because, some people really, 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 really benefit from the way things are going right now, and some people get very, very hurt by the way things are going right now. And that doesn't have to be the case, right? Like ideally, you would redistribute some of the gains and profits from the people who win out to the people who lose out, such that everyone can sort of win out like a little bit. But well, okay, that depends, right? Like it depends on how you do redistribution, right? What types of redistribution programs you have in mind. Again, it's not an easy problem to solve by any means. How do you balance economic efficiency with redistribution? I just feel like yeah, I mean, it also no, something to call on the agriculture side. For example, in an attempt to find cheaper alternatives in order to mass produce. Yeah, I mean, look, there's definitely trade-offs between economic efficiency um and reducing inequality of opportunities. I just think we should be more like conscious of the fact that there's a trade-off. That trade-off also means that there's a trade-off between economic efficiency and social cohesion between different parts of society, right? If you don't do any, oh well, that now this is just me ranting on throughout the entire break. I'll give us some time to walk around after I stop ranting. You know, if you don't redistribute, no, it's fine. I love talking about this stuff. I guess in my view, if you don't redistribute at all, it's probably the case that most markets are fairly close to like perfect competition. There are some markets that are very concentrated though, that have their own justifications for government intervention. But like, if you don't redistribute, like the way I guess capitalism is supposed to be structured is that like the wealthy should probably outpace the poor in terms of accumulating wealth pretty substantially. Like just as a natural course of how capitalism works, right? Because like the highest predictor of how much wealth you can have is not like how well you invest stuff, but how long you've been investing stuff, right? If you just have the average market return for like, say like 5 to 7%, right? For like 100 years versus like having like huge returns, like 15 to 20% returns for like 10 years. It tends to be the case that the compound interest from just being in the market as a capital owner for hundreds of years rapidly outpaces. So wealth, the way like capitalism works is that people who are wealthy should end up naturally accumulating significantly more wealth than people who don't have wealth to begin with, right? And that's not necessarily bad, right? That's not necessarily bad because that can still lead to efficient outcomes. That can still lead to maximizing how much we get out of the scarce resources we have out of this planet as possible. But, like the divide that creates also does have some trade-offs and some costs when it comes to social cohesion, right? The more concentrated the wealth gets, right, the more tension there is between people who have stuff and people who don't have stuff. So, that's why you should come up with some sort of redistribution system to make sure that, everyone at least has the opportunity to get access to, getting on the track to accumulating wealth themselves, or at least their children have the opportunity to do so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this probably exposes a lot of my political bents, but yeah, if you look at like the Netherlands, one of the most oldest like capitalist countries to ever exist, right? Because like the Dutch East India Company is like your prototype, literally the prototypical example of a limited liability shareholder company, right? So the Dutch economy is actually the oldest like capitalist economy to exist, and inequality is actually like pretty ridiculous in the Netherlands. Like wealth inequality is really, really severe, but they don't have social cohesion problems because over time, with so much time being a capitalist country, they've sort of figured out like how to balance redistributing to people, despite the massive wealth inequality. So that, if you're poor, you'd much prefer to live in the Netherlands than you would prefer to live in the U.S. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is like, I don't even know how I got on this tangent. Like the main issue I think with solving a lot of problems is that they typically require a lot of cohesion, like social cohesion, both for political will and just for cooperation between people. And so if you have a system that starts to reduce social cohesion, you need to really, really consider whether or not that trade-off is worth it, because the less social cohesion you have in a society, the less people are willing to work together to actually solve problems. Emotional well-being is also important as well. For sure. I just think like in terms of like concrete terms, like economic opportunities, I think are the most concrete and quantifiable way to sort of think about this stuff. But you're definitely right. Like emotional well-being plays a role in it too, and like it's definitely tied up with the concrete material conditions that people have. But yeah, so in terms of like what problem I think is like the most acute, I definitely think the reduction in social cohesion over time is like a problem because it makes solving every other problem like significantly harder. Um, as you've probably seen during like pandemics and stuff. Like the U.S. is particularly bad because people in different geographic locations with different amounts of economic opportunities, they're just none of them just see eye to eye at all. Like the coasts versus like middle America, none of them have any social cohesion like between each other at all because the economic environments that both groups live in is just so different. Um, which is sort of why I think we've gotten to this point where like 300,000 people have died in the U.S. That probably a significant amount could have been saved if everybody were more, I guess, cohesive, socially, and was able to empathize with one another and work together to like, wear masks and like try to protect each other and stuff. But like it's hard. Obviously, redistribution is really really hard to do right without having too much of a trade off of economic efficiency. Um, and the U.S. has typically tended to prefer economic efficiency over redistribution. Um, yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah. So I guess that's enough of me ranting. But we should also make some time to get up and walk around. So how about we get up and like walk around for like 3-ish minutes? Um, oh yeah, for sure. The subject really really interests me though. My math skills are definitely not up to par to actually understand econ. Like like if you just talk really broadly about like the theories behind econ, like the end implications about this theory suggests this and this theory suggests that, that's not really understanding econ. Like understanding econ requires like you to like know high level like calculus and statistics and actually be able to like rederive the actual theories from like mathematically if you want to actually understand econ. But yeah, I mean I like talking about econ. I just I'm not in a place where I actually understand econ fully. But yeah, anyways, let me set up a 3-minute timer just so we can get up and walk around just a little bit, just because that's healthy. Um, okay, if you're gonna go now, for sure, uh, feel free to go, because it's definitely late in the UK, so I totally understand. Guname, if you also have to go, I'm totally understanding of that. For anybody who ends up watching this as like a video, like after the stream is done, I'm gonna just still have the 3-minute walk around time just to make sure people who may have been watching along also get some time to walk around. But yeah, Gunami, if you want to leave at any time because it's late, go for it. Okay, yeah, cool. 30 more minutes. All right, cool. So we'll walk for like 3-ish minutes and then we'll keep going and then you can leave whenever you want to during the second session. So I'm gonna start the 3 minutes and yeah, let's walk around a little bit and then we'll come back, update the overlay, and get to our second session. And again, Gunami, you can leave whenever you want. All right. So let's quickly update the overlay. And we'll continue on to our second session. So 1 out of 2. And that was 3 of us. So that's 3. All right, cool. Looks like we're all ready to continue. Let me just restart the music. And let's just set this to 50 minutes. All right. So hopefully you're all back and situated in your workspace, and anybody watching is ready to continue. So we'll get on to our second session, and I'll see you all. Oh, don't want to peek that. And I'll see you all, yeah, on the other side of the second session. So good luck, everybody. Hopefully it's nice and productive, and yeah, see you on the other side. Okay, that is our second session done. Really quick, let's just set up a 1 minute timer. Um, Not sure who's tuned in right now, but I guess for the sake of everybody who may possibly be new, I guess people who may also turn in to the VOD of this stream midway through, I'll just briefly run over what we're about to do. So the way we start off each break is we rest our eyes by looking at an object that is 6 to 7 meters away or farther for about 60 seconds. So if you don't have an object readily available, please try to find one that is again 6 to 7 meters away or farther and is safe to look at. So yeah, no looking at the sun, please. I don't condone that. Trying to skirt that legal liability there. But yeah, you have been warned. Please don't do anything dumb. So yeah, please find an object that meets this criteria that you can stare at for about 60 seconds or so. In my case, I'm looking at a building across the street. That's what I'll be staring at for the 60 seconds to rest our eyes. So if you want to follow along, hopefully you found an object that meets those criteria and you're now ready to start looking at it. I'm going to stare at my object now, and I'm going to start the timer. So please start looking at your object if you have one and you would like to follow along. All right, the timer started. I'm looking at my object. You should be looking at yours if you want to follow along on this eye rest habit. A couple tips to keep in mind. Make sure your eyes are relaxed as you're focusing on the faraway object. So you should definitely focus on the faraway object, but depending on how far it is, you don't want to strain your eyes in looking super, super far away. Because this is supposed to rest our eyes. So just keep your eyes relaxed, but keep your attention focused on the faraway object. Additionally, make sure you're blinking. Blinking frequency is reduced when you stare at screens for a long time. So your eyes might be a bit dried out, and so blinking is a good idea to help make sure your eyes don't get too dried out. But don't over blink, like don't forcefully blink, because over blinking can also cause issues too. So just be conscious that you are blinking, but don't like force blink, like jamming your eyelids shut as hard as possible. All right, that looks like our 1 minute up. That wraps up our eye rest habit. I'm going to update our overlay really quick to keep track of our progress. So that's our second session out of 2 done for today. It looks like we had a turnout of me. It was Gunami from the community, but he left, and it looks like someone else is watching, so that makes us 6. Awesome. So in terms of how productive I was, God, I keep doing this, but like every time I schedule replanning for like the task I want to do, like I guess I'm not being specific enough about what specific actions I want to take, because I always go down these rabbit holes. Like today was mostly just a complete rabbit hole into figuring out how to actually optimize my Notion system so I could coordinate all the different projects I'm working on, which I guess is like key to replanning. Like it's the prior work to set it up, but yeah, man, this is a real big rabbit hole to go down. So I didn't really accomplish or complete what I wanted to complete today, which is unfortunate. But hopefully this is good setup for finally completing it, either tonight or tomorrow. I don't know who else is watching, but if hopefully people watching either live or watching this as a VOD have also made some progress in some tangible way or whatnot. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of what. So I usually end these with a productivity tip. I'm just trying to think of what to end this on, to make this definitely useful for people watching. Because I already went on my like kind of dumb politics econ rant in the middle of this stream, so I don't want to expand this out for too long. But let's see if I can conjure up some nugget of wisdom from the back of my mind, even though I am really not that wise and don't really have any expertise in anything. well, I guess my example from my case from today is a good demonstration of like why having constrained constrained tasks to do is really really important. So whenever you're doing like one of these work sessions, this is something I do not follow, but this is something I probably should be following. You want to constrain what you're working on to very very clear action steps. It should be at the action level rather than say like the project level, which is like something that requires multiple actions to complete. So for example, rather than saying like I'm going to spend the next 2 hours studying for the test, right? You know, studying can go down a super big rabbit hole because there's dozens and dozens of ways to study. And that really, really varies depending on what you're actually studying. What you want to say at the beginning of these, when I advise everyone to specifically list their objectives for this for the work stream, is to like get down to the action level. So like rather than saying like I'm gonna study, right? You say the specific task within the project of studying that you want to do, right? So like a specific task might be I'm going to transcribe some vocabulary onto note cards in either like Quizlet or Anki or something like that. Specifically, I'm going to do 30 of them from this specific vocabulary section for my language test tomorrow. That is clear. There's no ambiguity in that whatsoever. You know exactly what you're going to do, how much of it you're going to do, where exactly you stop. In my case, today specifically, me just vaguely saying I'm going to plan out how my vacation, my break between semesters is gonna work. Super super vague. I should have been so much more clear about saying like this is specifically what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna specifically process the mind dump I did yesterday, and assign that to the specific section, the correct sections of my Notion workspace, and then assign anything that is a task into my task manager, and then assign anything in my task manager from that into my Google Calendar. That could expand pretty far as well. That probably is way too expensive for only a 2-hour stream. Maybe a 3-hour stream would have been necessary for that. But that is way more constrained than what I set myself up to do today. So yeah, I guess that's my piece of advice to people who like who wanna make sure they get stuff done during these streams. Be really, really, really specific to the task level of what you want to do. So yeah, that I guess is my final piece of advice. Hopefully today was nice and productive. If it was, please like and subscribe. Helps me get these out to more people. And with more people in these streaming groups, the more group accountability we have in our community. So it's a win-win for everybody whenever you like and subscribe and share these with friends. Thank you, everybody. My apologies for starting the stream late today. I will not make that mistake tomorrow, and I will stream at 2 to 5:30 p.m. tomorrow. I need to update my schedule, both in my end cards and in my channel banner, so that people know that every day from Sunday to Thursday, I'll be streaming from 2 to 5:30 p.m. from now on, now that I don't have any class obligations in the way. All right, then. Yeah, today was nice. Hopefully it was nice for you. Again, please like and subscribe. It always helps to support the channel in that way. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at 2, this time for real.